Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my August TBR. So far, July has been a very good reading month. I've read quite a bit of books, more than I normally do in a month. That's because some of them have been shorter, but also I've just had a lot of time to read. I've just been really enjoying the books I'm reading and just kind of plowing through them. So some of the books on this list are sequels to some of the things I've read this month, and some of them are starting new series. So let's get into it. First up, I have Howling Dark by Christopher Rocchio. This is the second book in the Sun Eater series. I'm doing a read-along of this series with the people over on the Grimoire Discord, whose channels I'll link down below. We read Empire of Silence this month and I really enjoyed it. I won't get too far into it because I'll talk about it in my wrap-up and I will also be doing a dedicated review for it, but I really enjoyed Empire of Silence. So I am very pumped to get into Howling Dark. I'm hoping to read the novella that kind of falls in between these two, The Lesser Devil. I'm hoping to read that for the end of this month, the end of July. So I'll be ready for Howling Dark at the beginning of August. Very excited for it. The Sun Eater series is a series, from what I've known so far, reading the first book, is a series about a man named Hadrian Marlowe who, you find out at the very beginning, he destroyed or ate or something a star, which wiped out an entire alien race as well as billions of humans. So the story is told by him in the present, and he's telling his story from beginning to end, presumably. So Empire of Silence was just the setup for this whole story. And I've heard that Howling Dark absolutely goes off the rails. Empire of Silence is a little bit slower paced because we're really just trying to learn the politics and all of the nuances of this world, and that's kind of like the focus of this first book. So the second one I've heard is incredible. Like, everyone raves about it. Everyone says it's a 5-star read. So I am very excited for that one. Next up, I have Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. This is part of the First Law universe, but not part of the original trilogy. I finished the original trilogy this month. Again, won't get too far into it because I'll talk about it in my wrap-up. I'm also doing a dedicated series review for this, the first 3 books of the First Law trilogy. I am hoping to finish up the First Law universe, the 3 standalones, so that I can move on to his other books, because I've heard that his other books are incredible, and I'm hoping that I end up liking those ones more than I liked First Law. I didn't hate First Law. Again, I'll get into it later. I just found it lacking a little bit. From what I can tell about Best Served Cold, it is essentially like a brutal war book with revenge plots and things like that, and it seems very political, war-focused, so it sounds very First Law. I'm hesitant going into these standalones just because I've heard kind of mixed reviews about some of them. I've heard that people really love one or two of them and don't like the other, and it's always different person by person. So I'm nervous but excited. Joe Abercrombie's writing is phenomenal. I just haven't really connected with some of his plots and some of his characters so far, so I'm hoping I find at least one of these standalones that really speaks to me and I really enjoy, to get me more excited for his later books. Next up, I have Age of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the last book in the Legends of the First Empire series. This is the super duper prequel to the Reria Revelations and the Reria Chronicles. This series has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm currently reading Age of Death, which is the second to last one, and this series is just heart-wrenching. All the characters are so well developed, the plot is so interesting. It's a very classical feeling fantasy. There's the fantasy races, there's elves, there's dwarves, there's humans. The magic is super interesting. Everything is very high stakes, which I love because I hate when a story doesn't feel like there's any stakes, because then it's well, what am I reading this for? This series has the highest of stakes. That Michael J. Sullivan does not pull any punches, and I am loving it. And I'm really scared that last book is going to absolutely demolish me. But I'm so excited to finish this series because then I can go on to the Reria Chronicles and the Reria Revelations, because I have heard that those series are also incredible. Basically, this is going to become a Michael J. Sullivan stan account because This series is phenomenal. I need more people to read it. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this one. They talk about the other series. I know that sometimes people will read a main series and then not really be interested in prequels and stuff, but I promise this series is incredible and well worth your time. Next up, I have probably it's definitely in the top 3 most anticipated reads of this year, and that is Fury Song by Rosario Munda. This is the 3rd book in the Aurelian Cycle series, the first one being Fireborn. I talk about this series all the time, and it's finally here. This book comes out at the beginning of August, and when I say I'm excited for this book, I cannot even contain within myself how excited I am for this book. I want to scream about how amazing this series is, and I want to stand on the rooftops and just tell everyone that this is required reading. You must read this series. It is phenomenal. I'm very nervous for this 3rd book because of how Flamefall left off, but I cannot wait. As soon as it gets here, I will probably drop whatever I'm reading and just start reading this. Honestly, I don't know if I will be able to contain myself. So very, very excited for this book. The Aurelian Cycle series is kind of like a revolution type story. It is a YA fantasy, but if you don't read YA, I implore you to still try this series because well worth it. And it definitely has more mature themes than most YA, and it does not follow typical YA tropes. So the characters are just young. But I implore you to still give it a shot because the politics in this book are so well crafted. Anyway, this series follows a young man who is the son of the former ruling class, the ruling family of this empire. And when he was a child, the empire was toppled by this whole revolution, and his family was killed in front of him, but he was spared and sent to an orphanage. And there he meets Annie, who is a child that also lost her parents because this boy's family killed her family. And this boy's family ruled via the might of their dragons. And so now the whole series follows this new government and how it's set up. It explores a lot of themes of if this government is actually better. We get to explore a lot of Annie and Lee's complicated relationship due to both of their past. There's this whole dragon rider program that exists in this world, and Lee and Annie are both part of it. And so you get dragon riding, you get dragon mounted combat, you get all that. We all know how much I love dragons. And the series is just incredibly written. So Fury Song, I've talked about it a million times. So excited for it. Will be reading it as soon as it gets here. I don't know if I'll even be able to do anything else once it gets here. I will just be reading it. Next up, I have another anticipated read that I'm not sure if I'll be able to finish by the end of the month, but I put it on here just in case I do. And that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is the same author that wrote the Poppy War trilogy, which I enjoyed but didn't love. I understood the hype, I just didn't really connect with it like some other people did. But I can see that R.F. Kuang is an incredible writer, and this is a very different genre feel than the Poppy War. It's still fantasy, but it is more dark academia kind of fantasy. So I'm very excited for it. It is about a man in Britain who is a British man, and he translates for the British government. And so he must kind of battle his 2 different identities, and he must kind of grapple with the whole idea of colonization and how the British Empire is colonizing the world and what his part is in it, or at least that's what I've gathered from the synopsis. So I'm very excited for this book. It sounds incredible. I love dark academia. I've heard that it reads very higher education, kind of that kind of vibe. So I'm a little nervous. I'm a little hesitant that I'm gonna be confused, but we'll see. I'm very excited for it. I've heard mixed reviews on it, but mostly good things, so excited for it. Next up, I have The Blinding Knife by Brent Weeks. This is the 2nd book in the Lightbringer series. I've just started The Black Prism, which is the 1st book, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm very nervous about this series because I've heard almost only bad things about the last book of this series, so I'm very nervous, but I am enjoying The Black Prism right now. This series follows a group of people that create magic via light and colors. So different colors of light allow a person to channel magic and create a physical object with that magic. And some people can only channel one color, some can do two, and then there's people called prisms that can do all the colors. So kind of has similar vibes as like Mistborn in that sense, in that there's like special people that can do all of the magic. In Mistborn, it was the people that can, the Mistborns that could work with all metals. Very similar vibes to that, but completely different story. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not that far into it. I'm like 25% into it, so I don't have a whole lot of opinions yet, but the story is interesting, the characters are interesting, and I'm hoping to get to the second one this next month. The next book is Biased by Jennifer L. Eberhardt. This is a nonfiction book that explores how people develop biases and kind of like the danger of biases and things like that. I was recommended this book by my friend Kyle over on Read by Kyle. I like to read a lot about like American history and about social justice and civil rights and things like that. And so I think this will be a very interesting book to help kind of show me how, like, why these biases develop and kind of show the like psychology behind it as opposed to just showing the real world application, I guess. So I'm very excited. I feel like I'm kind of falling behind on my read 12 nonfiction books by the end of the year thing. I think I've read 6 and it is the 7th month and I don't think I read one this month. I don't think. So gotta catch up. This last book, I'm not sure if I'll get to finish it. And that is Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty. Everyone raves about this series constantly. So I've moved it up my TBR. It's very daunting. The books are all like huge. They're all gigantic. And I've heard that this first book is good, but that the rest of the series is like phenomenal, even better. Which that's kind of true for a lot of big fantasy series, because a lot of times the first book is more of a setup, like how I was talking about with the Sun Eater series. Empire of Silence really felt like the first book. So I've kind of come to expect that in large fantasy series. I'm still excited to read this series because I've just heard people raving about it. Absolutely loving it. So really excited to get to this. I don't know if I'll finish it or not. It really depends on how quickly I'm reading. I will be traveling for like 8 days this month, so I'm either gonna read a lot or like none at all in that week. So that might slow down my reading quite a bit. I'll be traveling to see family and things like that. I'll be on a long road trip, hoping to crank out an audiobook during that road trip. I don't know which one yet. I haven't put anything on my TBR because it'll really just depend on how I'm feeling. Basically, my mother-in-law is moving and I will be the one driving her to her new destination, and it's like a 12-hour drive. So she's just gonna have to put in headphones because I'm gonna be listening to my audiobook at 3 times speed for this road trip, and she'll just have to be okay with that. Anyway, that is all of the books I hope to get to this month. I'm sure there will be more I get to, and I probably will not get to all of these. We all know how TBRs work. It is more of a, I hope to get to this list. We almost never complete our TBRs. It's part of for being a reader. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment down below and let me know what is your most anticipated read of August, what you're most excited to get to. If you are liking my channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you really like my content, you can also hit the notification bell to be notified anytime I post new videos. Thank you guys for your support. As always, it means the world to me. And until next time, bye.